There is an idea that repeats itself throughout history. Every great power was built on a dominant technology. The steam engine transformed the United Kingdom. Mass production propelled the United States. Computing revolutionized Silicon Valley. But what if we're witnessing the birth of the next great transformation? A transformation driven by artificial intelligence, automation, advanced mobility, energy, smart infrastructure, and digital integration on a massive scale. To understand this, we need to take a journey, not to another country, but into a possible portrait of the future.
Hey guys, a quick pause before we keep going. If you're enjoying the video so far, show our channel some love. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. When you interact, like, and leave a comment, it lets us know that you're liking our work. That's what motivates us to keep bringing you more cool videos. So go ahead and comment down below what you're thinking, and let's get back to the video.
Imagine leaving your house in the morning. You request a ride through your phone. A few minutes later, the vehicle arrives. But there is no driver, no steering wheel, no small talk about traffic. The car simply knows where you want to go. Meanwhile, sensors spread throughout the city monitor traffic flow. Traffic lights adapt automatically. Intelligent systems reduce congestion. Cameras analyze thousands of pieces of information in real time. It sounds far away, but several Chinese cities are already serving as laboratories for this type of technology. The goal isn't simply to create autonomous vehicles. The goal is to create cities that communicate with those vehicles. And that difference changes everything. Because a smart vehicle is impressive, but an entire smart city is revolutionary. For more than 100 years, humans have occupied the same position inside a car, behind the wheel, making decisions, braking, accelerating, turning corners. Now imagine a machine capable of doing all of that by itself, without distractions, without fatigue, without texting while driving, without human error. That is exactly the direction many companies are betting on. And here's something interesting. Many people assume the biggest challenge is technological. But the greatest challenge may actually be psychological. Because trusting a human driver is something we've learned since childhood. Trusting an algorithm requires a cultural shift. And that shift may be just as difficult as creating the technology itself. But if it happens, urban mobility could change completely. There is one problem shared by virtually every major city on Earth: a lack of space. The more people arrive, the more cars appear, the more traffic jams emerge, the more time gets wasted. For decades, we've tried solving this problem by expanding roads, building overpasses, creating new lanes. But there is a limit, and when that limit is reached, an unavoidable question appears. What if traffic had to leave the ground? That's where aerial mobility projects come in. We're not talking about conventional airplanes. We're talking about electric vehicles capable of vertical takeoff. Machines designed to turn the sky into an extension of the urban transportation network. For a long time, this seemed impossible. Today, prototypes are already flying. And most impressive of all, they're only the beginning. imagine another scenario. You need to travel between two cities. Normally, you think about taking a plane. But what if there were a train capable of competing directly with it? For decades, trains were viewed as a traditional means of transportation. Efficient, but limited. Then a technological race began. A race to discover how far the limits of speed could be pushed. Engineers started experimenting with magnetic levitation, advanced materials, low-resistance systems, new propulsion concepts. The result? Machines that appear to float above the tracks. Machines that challenge everything we once considered ground transportation. And the most surprising part is that the race is still only getting started. When we hear the word robot, most people imagine humanoid machines walking around futuristic laboratories. But the real revolution is far more discreet. It happens inside factories, warehouses, hospitals, ports, logistics centers. Thousands of machines working quietly in the background, moving products, sorting packages, monitoring equipment, making simple decisions. Automation isn't coming. It's already here. And the more efficient it becomes, the deeper the economic transformation of the coming decades will be. To be continued in Part 2, featuring flying cars, trains that could outperform airplanes, Chinese megastructures, smart cities, artificial intelligence at a national scale, the future of jobs, the global impact of Chinese technology, a cinematic climax, a high-retention conclusion, and a natural call to action. For thousands of years, cities have grown in the same way. First came the streets, then the avenues, then the highways. But there's an interesting detail. All of these solutions remain tied to the ground, and the ground has limits. Eventually, there simply isn't any space left. That's when an idea that once sounded absurd begins to gain momentum. What if the next layer of cities exists above them? Imagine leaving an office building, stepping into an electric aircraft, taking off vertically, and crossing an entire metropolis in just a few minutes. No traffic lights, no congestion, no intersections. It sounds impossible. But several Chinese companies are already conducting public tests with vertical takeoff vehicles. The goal isn't to replace cars. It's to create an entirely new category of transportation. Something between a taxi and an aircraft. A new urban infrastructure. And if it works on a large scale, the way we think about transportation could change forever. Because maybe the traffic of the future won't happen on the streets. Maybe it will happen in the skies. There is a question very few people ask. Why does China invest so heavily in transportation? The answer isn't just technology. It's scale. Imagine managing cities with millions of residents, metropolitan regions larger than many countries, massive industrial hubs, ports moving colossal amounts of goods. When everything happens on a gigantic scale, Even small efficiency gains are worth billions. That's why transportation has become a strategic priority. It's not just a matter of convenience. It's a matter of economic competitiveness. The faster people and goods can move, the more productive the economy becomes. That's why we see investments in ultra-fast trains, autonomous vehicles, intelligent traffic systems, automated infrastructure. Everything is part of the same vision. A vision where wasted time equals economic waste, and where speed becomes a national advantage. There is something striking about many Chinese projects: their size. While some countries debate small improvements, China often bets on monumental solutions: gigantic bridges, undersea tunnels, railway lines stretching thousands of miles, urban complexes built in record time. These projects aren't impressive merely because of their appearance. They reveal a philosophy: the idea that infrastructure isn't just construction, it's a tool for transformation. When a bridge reduces a 2-hour trip to 30 minutes, it changes far more than the journey itself. It changes jobs, investments, markets, property values, the entire economic dynamic of a region. And that's exactly why these projects receive so much attention. Because they don't simply connect places, they connect opportunities. Now we arrive at what may be the most important technology of all, and also the hardest to see, because it doesn't appear flying through the air. It doesn't glide across rails. It doesn't shine on a futuristic bridge. It operates behind the scenes. Artificial intelligence is beginning to infiltrate virtually every sector: healthcare, logistics, security, education, transportation, industry. What makes this technology so powerful isn't merely its ability to perform tasks. It's its ability to learn. The more data it receives, the more efficient it becomes. And when an entire country starts integrating artificial intelligence at scale, something unprecedented happens. Systems begin communicating with one another. Traffic communicates with vehicles. Ports communicate with logistics centers. Factories communicate with suppliers. Efficiency increases in a chain reaction. It's as if thousands of small improvements combine to create a massive transformation. And perhaps that's the real secret behind many innovations. They aren't isolated technologies. They're connected technologies. When we see a flying car, the reaction is immediate. When we see an ultra-fast train, the same thing happens. But these technologies attract attention precisely because they're visible. The deepest transformation usually happens far away from the cameras. It happens when universities train engineers, when governments invest in research, when companies receive incentives to innovate, when an entire generation grows up surrounded by technology. The results appear years later. Suddenly new companies emerge, new products, new solutions, and the rest of the world looks on and wonders, how did they get there so quickly? But it was almost never quick. It was decades of accumulated investment, decades of planning, decades of quiet construction. There is one unavoidable consequence of every technological revolution. It changes human labor. It happened during the Industrial Revolution. It happened with computers. And it will happen again. Many repetitive tasks are being automated. Machines take over functions. Algorithms make decisions. Robots perform activities once handled by people. That scares many people, and understandably so. But there is another side to the story. Every major technological revolution also creates new professions, new specializations, new markets, new opportunities. The challenge has never been stopping change. The challenge has always been adapting to it. The question isn't whether the future will arrive. The question is who will be ready when it does. Imagine traveling back 20 years in time, showing a smartphone to someone in 2005, explaining social media, streaming, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles. The reaction would probably be the same: disbelief. Because the future always seems impossible until it becomes ordinary. Perhaps we're living through that exact moment right now. Flying cars seem impossible. Robotaxis seem impossible. Supersonic trains seem impossible. Smart cities seem impossible. But history reveals something fascinating. Technology doesn't ask for permission. It moves forward. Slowly at first. And then suddenly. Until one day we look back and realize the world has changed completely. Maybe the question isn't whether these technologies will work. Maybe the question is, how much longer until they become part of our daily lives? Because some of them are no longer experiments. They're no longer concepts. They're already becoming reality. For a long time, the future was treated as something distant, something reserved for books, movies, predictions. But today it feels closer than ever. China is betting on a bold vision. A vision where artificial intelligence, automation, advanced mobility, and smart infrastructure work together. Not every project will succeed. Not every promise will be fulfilled. But one thing is undeniable. The speed of transformation is remarkable. And perhaps the biggest lesson isn't about technology. Perhaps it's about adaptation. Because throughout history, the nations that prospered weren't necessarily the richest. They were the ones that understood change before everyone else. And right now, a new transformation is unfolding. Quietly. Right before our eyes. Now I want to hear your opinion. Which of these technologies do you believe will truly become part of everyday life within the next 10 years? Flying cars? Autonomous taxis? Ultra-fast trains? Or artificial intelligence integrated into almost everything? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Because one thing is certain. The future is arriving faster than most people ever imagined. If you enjoyed this type of content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. In future videos, you'll delve even deeper into the mysteries of humanity.